You're listening to The Green Flag with your hosts, Lukas Wacker and Kyle Cushman.
Welcome to Championship Week, everybody. Nothing really happened at Martinsville, so we can get straight into Phoenix preview. Holy cow, as Ross Chastain put it. Kyle, what happened? I
have no clue.
I'm still speechless, I think, over it. I don't even know if I can adequately put it into words what we saw yesterday on that last lap. I don't think even Ross Chastain can comprehend like how much of a big deal what he did. Like the entire motorsports world, the entire sports world is into a frenzy right now. And, you know, NASCAR made it mainstream, everybody. They made it onto the Sports Center top 10 plays. They've done it. And this is because of Ross Chastain's unbelievable, unimaginable, unthinkable move that he pulled in turns 3 and 4 on the final lap that sends him to the championship for the first time in his career. Can't even describe how Martinsville was as a fan, because I mean, it was just kind of edge of your seat in those final 25 laps after all the pit strategies and that late caution, what that presented. It really just shook up the entire end of that race. And I, for one, am thankful for it, but we will break that all down today. We'll give our reactions to Ross Chastain's move. We're also going to take it back to Saturday night between Ty Gibbs and his current teammate, Brandon Jones, but maybe not even next weekend. They're going to be considered teammates after what happened. And then, of course, we will break down our championship picks for the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series, as well as have our final draft of 2022 for Phoenix. So all that ahead on the show. But before we get into all that, how are you doing today, Mr. Cushman?
Doing great. Looking forward to this big episode. Look, we came back for the playoffs. That was kind of when we designed to kind of ramp things back up, and it's the culmination of things. So really looking forward to breaking everything down after what was chaotic, exciting, whatever word you want to describe it, weekend, and look forward to a pretty big weekend coming up, to say the least.
Yeah. It's definitely one. It's definitely a big weekend. Let's just get into it. I mean, we don't really need to talk about the first 490 laps or so of that race, to be honest, because it was decent. It wasn't as bad as the spring race. I'll give it that. They brought a better tire. We had a little bit more fall off, and guys were able to make a little bit of movement throughout the field. And we saw that evidenced by the race winner being, of course, Christopher Bell. He punches his ticket in a must-win situation for the second time in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. And he's kind of
becoming a green flag guy with the amount we pumped his tires as an underdog candidate and making his way through.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to take the designated Christopher Bell guy here. I mean, I've been picking him in the drafts. I mean, this is a Kyle Busch protege, if you will. This is a lot of years in the making, Christopher Bell, to get to this point. And look no further than the guy atop of the pit box, Mr. Adam Stevens, as well. We know who I'm rooting for this weekend for the Cup Series.
Chase Elliott.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, we'll get into our picks a little later on, but Bell wins. Chastain was out until the final 2 corners by 2 points over Denny Hamlin, and everybody's seen it. Nobody who's watching this episode or listening has not seen the footage of what Ross Chastain did. Well, I mean, my jaw dropped. I don't even think I comprehended what he did, because I wasn't even looking when they had the full monitor triple screen display. I was looking at Bell, and that was basically it. I was like, oh, it's over, right? Like there's no possible way that anything that Ross Chastain could have done other than what he did could have resulted in him making to the playoffs, apart from Keselowski's disqualification afterwards. But it was mathematically impossible based off of how the speeds were that he was going to make up 2 spots unless Hamlin got dumped. And that was probably not going to happen in turns 3 and 4. So he took the aggressive approach, the unthinkable, and went into 5th gear when they've been in 4th gear the entire time, and grabbed 5th on the backstretch and held it wide open through turns 3 and 4, and was 1.5 seconds faster than the fastest lap on that last lap by Kyle Larson. What do you think? What do you say to that? I mean, it's unbelievable what Ross Chastain just did. It's going to be talked about for years, probably entire lifetime. It's going to be able to be drawn back to in terms of highlights. It's going to make all the montages now. It's going to make every promotional vid. Like Chastain has transcended the sport in a different way we'll talk about maybe in a good way and possibly a bad way, depending on how you want to look at it. But what are your thoughts, Kyle, on Chastain and even Bell's walk-off win too?
I mean, yeah, the Bell stuff we can get to in a minute because it was overshadowed by what happened for like fourth place.
Any other race, Bell's win storyline, right? It's the big one. But
yeah, I mean, the guy clutched a second must win. Like, it's crazy, and he was overshadowed. It's nuts. But yeah, no, I also wasn't watching Chastain on the live broadcast. I was watching the monitor, like the main leader, and then they put it full screen as Chastain entered 3, and I saw up on the top of the screen the exit of 4, like a bunch of like dust and smoke. And I saw someone just flying, and I was like, what the hell? And then I realized it was Chastain, and I can't count the amount of times that I either swore or said, oh my God. Like it. And as they kept talking about it and showing it, I kept repeating myself, oh my God. Like I've never seen anything like that. So many people have tried the video game move, and we've seen it every time where they go in, they pass the guy cuts back under him, and they win the race every single time.
Carl Edwards,
Larson, Darlington, Edwards back in the day. That's always what it is. They pound the wall. They have a bunch of speed. They lose all the speed. It's over.
Yeah.
Except nobody's tried it at a place where you don't carry speed through the corner, like Martinsville, and you just rimmed it around. And dude was going 200 miles an hour down the straight of Martinsville. I've never seen anything like it. It
broke the track
looked
record.
Fake. It looked fake.
Yeah.
I watch it now. It looks fake. Yeah. If you didn't see that live, like if you weren't there in person, like
the camera angle from the fan in turns 3 and 4, watching it like go that fast is unthinkable.
Like
it's crazy.
It's
how lucky he was that he didn't even hit the access gate there, and that didn't like totally destroy his race car or stop him immediately. Like so many different things had to go right for him to even get to that point. He didn't just make it in by 1 point. He made it by 4 flipping points. Like he drove from 10th to 5th in 2 corners. It's insane.
It's stupid that it worked. Yeah. But props to the guy for putting it all out there, and he got it to work. You can talk about like the ramifications of it, blah, 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 whatever. The move itself is badass. It's insane that it worked, and it's an awesome moment for just sports, racing, whatever, to have this kind of viral moment and awesome moment to go to the championship race. Talk whatever you want about the format, whatever. This is why they have the format the way that they do, because it creates unique moments like that. Nobody, if it's a season-long points championship or even a chase format, whatever, a 10 race playoff kind of thing, nobody's trying that for 5th place in those formats. In this format, you do. And that's why they have it. That's why they're going to hold on to it. And that's why they're never going to change it, because they want these big kind of Game 7 moments. I don't like the format because I feel like the Game 7 moments usually only come in that final championship race, and it feels fabricated because it's always a Game 7 moment. But we don't always get these moments where it's somebody trying to get in at the last moment, get that last possible point, and we get this incredible thing. And that's what makes it special, is because it's something that we don't see all the time. It's a unique situation where somebody had to get those points to move on. We don't always see that, where somebody's in a position to make a pass on a last lap or whatever to get through. And that's what made this moment special. And it's something we're going to remember for a very, very long time.
The bump and run looks tame compared to what he did. Like, all the other highlights at Martinsville that we have watched for the past 5-6 years of what's happened in this race, in this format, is like, it doesn't even come close to what we just saw yesterday. And that's saying something, because we've seen some pretty incredible battles, wrecks, bump and runs, and those are still to be cherished. But I mean, that nothing comes close to what Chastain just did. Like, he reinvented what it means to drive for a championship in the will to win almost. Like, he wasn't going down without a fight, and he would not be denied. And that takes some balls, and mad kudos to him, because I don't know if anybody would have the mental capacity to realize in that moment, like, you could possibly do that. Like, it's the moment of thinking of it and then executing it is a different thing. Like, yeah, I could think about it, but I probably shouldn't. Like, I don't think it'll work. But like, he went balls to the wall, literally. Like, I mean, that is reinventing everything that we know.
They're the size of watermelons.
So. Yeah, Melon Man. Hail the Melon Man.
Have you seen this Justin Marks tweet, the Halloween one?
I don't know if I've seen it. I'll pull it
Yeah,
up.
you would know what I'm talking about if you'd seen it. You got to go look this up. This is the best Halloween costume I've seen. It is amazing. I don't know how he thought of this, but this is phenomenal. I don't want to spoil it by saying it. Yeah, he dressed up as a safer barrier. That's awesome.
How does he do that in less than a day?
Well, I mean,
hours.
it's just a t-shirt, but
I know, still though.
But to think of that and get it done, that's
hilarious.
good stuff. For those that haven't seen it, go look it up. But it's Justin Marks, obviously the owner of Trackhouse, dressed up all in white with a t-shirt that says safer barrier, standing beside somebody in a full Ross Chastain fire suit and leaning up against them. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to remember this for a long time. This is something.
I just love it. I just love it so much. And I don't even think you have to be a fan of Ross Chastain or anything. Like you can just appreciate
moments
the move
like this is
itself.
why people watch sports.
Yep.
It's
100%.
the unknown, the I never thought this could happen type stuff. And this is why people watch sports.
Yep. I know after the race, Larson was very vocal that he thinks it was embarrassing. He didn't like the move. Maybe that's in the heat of the moment. I don't know what he's thinking now. Maybe after he's seen it, watched it, seen the reaction of it. But in real time, right after the race, it was obviously behind him, so he didn't quite witness it firsthand. He saw it on the replay. But what do you think of his comments? And do you think that there is any validity to them, or is it maybe just a little bit out of place? What are your thoughts on what Larson said?
I think they're completely valid, and I tend to agree with them to a certain extent. From the standpoint that Kyle Larson is a competitor and something that isn't really racing on the track, you're destroying a race car and going around the wall. Anybody could essentially hold it flat and do that. And that's how you get through to a championship race. From that perspective, yeah, it's embarrassing. That's not the perspective, of course, that people are viewing the clip. They're like, oh my God, this is insane. This is awesome. But from the perspective of a competitor, I absolutely get where Kyle Larson is coming from. And that's something that I think is completely valid. And I understand why some people kind of go, okay, this is heat of the moment, blah, 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 write it off. But I think it's a very fair point, and I'm glad somebody brought it up from the competitor's perspective. Because if nobody really said anything, and then we get to next Martinsville race or wherever it is and nothing's been done, that's when the can of worms gets opened. So it's awesome as a one-time thing. It shouldn't be something we ever see again. It's something that it should be a wipe your hands if you're NASCAR. That's awesome. Congrats.
Almost in the driver's code of conduct a little bit there too.
It's to a certain extent, but just something where it's NASCAR, where it's even
it's
from like a car
rule almost.
If it's a car perspective and you bring in a legal part, but it's not in the rule book. They're like, fair enough. You beat us on the rule book. Next week, you can't bring it back. And it's the exact same type of thing here, where the next time we're at a track, we've seen it time and time again. We're at a mile and a half or bigger, or even a place like Darlington where it's a little bit smaller, where you can do that wall riding thing and it doesn't work. You kind of have a game breaking type thing. If you realize, oh, hey, this works at Martinsville, you'll see 25 cars do it on a last lap now. So you need to make a rule around it so that you can't do this kind of thing in the future. But for this circumstance, somebody outthought the rule book. It worked for them. In the future, it shouldn't be something that you should be able to do. Or else you open up a big can of worms at the next Martinsville race when it's the last lap and everybody's on the wall. But yeah, it's awesome that he did it in the moment. It's awesome that it worked for him. It's great that we have this big moment. And Ross Chastain, who a guy, like he said in his post-race interview 2 years ago, was battling to finish -7 laps, is going out and racing for a championship. And I don't think anybody thought he would ever get close to a championship race, let alone race wins or anything like that.
No, I mean, his success story here is pretty remarkable to think of the turnaround. I mean, I remember for a couple of years there, at least when he was in the 4-car, right? He was running, basically for JD Motorsports, doing his best.
He was doing the Land of Castle thing where you were running for 15th.
Just getting the most out of that car and the equipment. And everybody thought, man, love to give this guy a shot. And then he got into the 42 car, won the race at Vegas, perked everybody's eyebrows and got everybody.
Was that before or after the dust up with Harvick?
That was after Harvick, because Harvick's stuff at Darlington was before Vegas. But I believe at the time.
I don't know. It's so long ago now.
But I mean, then he won that race, right? And then it kind of spiraled into a full-time Xfinity deal that fell through because of the sponsorship, right? And then all that kind of stuff throughout the entire year.
Just to pause there, imagine how differently we think about Ross Chastain if he gets that Chip Ganassi deal and he wins a bunch of races like he would have in Xfinity, instead of ending up at like Colleague where they had
he
good
didn't win a race
but not
in his
amazing
Xfinity Series,
right? Like
we were harsh. I was harsh on him.
You were
that year.
I liked him, but
because he didn't win a race in that equipment, and he should have, to be fair, but he didn't.
Yes
he didn't
no.
quite put it all together. What do you mean? Yes and no.
I think Colleague equipment is good, not great, especially at that time, and it should have been something where he had the capabilities to win a race, but I don't think it was a knock at the time of him not winning a race, and that was the big difference between us. You thought it was. I think you rated the Colleague equipment higher than I did. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. We don't know what the equipment was. But I thought he did an excellent job of getting the most out of the equipment, race in, race out, and having a couple things that could have gone his way to win a race versus you who saw the other side of it where he didn't make those opportunities work. And we've obviously since then he's grown as a driver and has learned how to finish out those opportunities and stuff. But I think that was the difference in mentality between the two of us. And since then, he's just kind of taken it to a whole different level.
Yeah, I don't think we ever would have thought that this is even possible.
No, even at that time when I was high on him coming out of that Colleague stuff. I thought it was really interesting him landing at Chip Ganassi and stuff. I thought that his upside was maybe winning a race, maybe squeaking into playoffs, stuff like that. Not multi-race winner this year, championship 4, anything like that.
Yeah, for me on the Chastain move, I mean, I don't know how you don't love it. Especially from a fan's perspective, like I think everybody was like, bravo. That deserves almost an award in itself. Like just to think of it and execute it and just for it to work out. And it wasn't wasted, that effort. Like it actually paid off, and he's going to be able to fight for a championship. And obviously if he wins it on Sunday, that's the moment where you look at, wow, he won the championship with that move. And he had the balls that nobody else did to do that. And that takes major props. As well. Yeah, exactly.
It's that perfect blend of somebody who's willing to do anything in a situation where he needs to do anything.
Yeah. And I can understand what Larson's saying for a large part of it. I don't know if I necessarily agree with embarrassing.
I mean, from a competition standpoint, it is embarrassing that a guy who goes up and runs against the wall flat out can beat people who are honestly trying to race.
Right?
Like it shouldn't work, and it's embarrassing from a competitive standpoint that somebody who ruins a car going up, riding around the wall, something that to a certain extent doesn't involve much skill, can go and beat guys that are doing something that involves skill. From that standpoint, I understand where Larson's coming from.
I will say, like, not as necessarily a counterpoint, but like the creativity of it in a sport that has become that, we praise creativity in this sport specifically, right? Anything of innovation, anything like that, where you can skate around the rule book, whether that's car setup, rules in the pits, anything like that. Like I love it personally. Like I think, anytime that you could find like that little bit of extra edge when the rule book is so tight right now, like that's awesome. And the fact that Chastain was able to find, I wouldn't necessarily say it a loophole, but like he did something that we've never seen before. And like, you can't penalize that. Like it's not in the rule book. He didn't really do anything wrong. It's just, something that shouldn't necessarily be obviously a common thing moving forward, but I don't know if it's necessarily embarrassing. I feel like Larson, I wouldn't use that word. I don't necessarily think Larson's wrong, but just moving forward, it can't be something that we have happen, obviously, ever really again. Like it would just seem like it's not as good as the first time, or it wouldn't have as much value or appreciation, I think. And if people just continue to do this, then it just becomes more of a laughing stock, obviously, because that's not what the racing product should be. But I enjoyed the creativity that Chastain put there. And I don't know if I would say it's embarrassing, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And NASCAR, I don't think they need to necessarily write any rules about it. I think that
you definitely need to.
I don't know.
If you don't write a rule about it, they'll do it. You can't leave this to be an unwritten rule thing. Come on.
But what do you say though? I mean, like, don't run the wall. I mean,
yeah,
how do you necessarily define, just say you can't do what Chastain did, exactly that? Or
basically,
you think drivers will find some sort of loophole with it? I feel
you just need to make it in the rule book to an extent where people can't just, because if that's not the case, then we're going to see 40 cars on the last lap of Martinsville blow the corner. You have to. At that point, it becomes a safety thing.
Yeah. Do you think it's
people
just because
have seen that it works?
Do you think that
it was a second and a half, 2 seconds faster? You have to make a rule about it.
Would you say anything it's about the current car? If they were to change anything with an aero package over the off season, do you think that would have any impact?
That wouldn't. No, it has to do with the way that the wall is and the sides and whatever. I don't know. You would have to pull out a different car and try it and see if it works. And no, there's no reason to try and do all those different changes. Just write a rule that says you can't ride around the wall. I don't think you need to overcomplicate it.
I would hope that drivers would be able to police themselves in a way, but
you can't. But the whole leave it up, police themselves, blah blah blah, whatever thing is bad, because we saw with William Byron where because one little thing written in a rule book could be disproven, you can't penalize it in the way that you want to. If you don't put it in the rule book and somebody does it at Martinsville, you're shit out of luck because you can't penalize it. So you have to put something in there just so you have that safety net of, if somebody does decide to do it, you can prevent it from happening. Because otherwise, you'll have too many people doing it and it'll become even more. If you want to use the embarrassing for this as what it is from a competitive standpoint, I think you can debate that. But if you have 25 cars doing it, that's when it's a complete joke.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that it would. If it was not put in the rule book, I would hope that it would never get to that. That seems just.
But why wouldn't you? If it's not in the rule book, you can gain a second and a half in the final corner.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a fair point. I just
if you're in the lead and somebody's behind you, in Martinsville next year, and there's no rule about it, you have to run the wall if you're in first place, because if you don't, the guy's going to go running around you. You have to write a rule about it.
It's crazy to think that we're even having this conversation about this idea, that this is even something that we would have to be worried about moving forward. I don't even think anybody thought about it even before this weekend. It was a possibility.
Well, obviously not, or else they would have written a rule about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. I wouldn't want to see it every time, but man, I mean, once in a while, it's not the worst thing. I think I just find it hilarious, but also just but super
also
entertaining.
There's also a difference between the stuff that I don't know, Larson's was basically the same, but there's a difference between what Chastain did and what Carl Edwards did back in the day, where Carl Edwards just tossed it in on the bottom.
Does a slide job,
essentially an extreme slide job. That's also different than just sending it in and not lifting and just going around the wall. There are ways that you can still have those moments if you write the rule in a certain way where it's not you can't slide job or whatever. But if you enter on the wall, you ride the wall all the way around. I can see where you can write a rule about it, or you just make it track specific and stuff like that. You have to write some kind of rule about it, or else you get into the kind of
then it
silly situations
right?
and stuff that you want to avoid. But I don't know.
It's an interesting discussion. I'm sure NASCAR will look over it in the off season and just see.
Don't.
Yeah.
Some questions, but
I mean, I'd be curious if they're not going to have anything ready for Phoenix. It doesn't seem they're going to think about it after the season, but what's stopping you from doing it in 3 and 4? Maybe this time, if you're close, if you can't get to them.
I mean, no, you could, but there's a difference between Phoenix and Martinsville in terms of the speed that you're carrying through the corner and stuff like that as well.
It'd be pretty close, but yeah, Phoenix, obviously Phoenix is faster than Martinsville. I wonder what other tracks it would work on, to be honest. It'd be an interesting kind of debate, because at least Martinsville is narrower.
Martinsville is the only one that I can think of that it works. I don't think you would really get it to work.
Does Loudon work?
I think it's too wide.
That's what I think. Bristol?
No, because you have too much speed. If you just run the high line at Bristol, you run faster than if you're right up against the wall and scrubbing speed.
Yeah.
Probably, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy how the circumstances.
I also would have thought the
fell
same
down to
as with
this one
Martinsville.
track, and that works like that.
Who's going to do the iRacing test where you try it out?
Just don't pull a Chase Briscoe on Twitter and just do it on the actual iRacing stuff where it's, a little bit more realistic.
Just don't do it online so you get banned.
I do AI racing all the time. What are you talking about? So
I know. I'm just advising people.
I'm probably the best person to actually test this.
Reported. You have all the tracks bought? Jeez.
No, I don't have Martinsville bought.
You don't?
No.
The good one. You should have it.
I'm a big Homestead guy. I've been racing USA International Speedway a little bit lately.
Yeah, that's a good track.
It's a fun little track. Well, I don't know. I like it.
They run rookie races on it. You should race against people.
That's something in the new year. That's a new year resolution.
Okay.
Anyways, taking it back to this. Christopher Bell. What do you say about him? I mean, like, Mr. Clutch in the playoffs. Like, I don't think anybody would have thought, if you told me in the playoffs Christopher Bell's 2 wins would come at the Charlotte Roval and Martinsville, like, that's like 2 of his worst tracks. Like, I'm thankful we honestly didn't even do a preview for Martinsville because we would have looked like freaking idiots based off of what
I don't even know what I would have done, but
I would. I mean, I know I wouldn't have picked Bell. I know I wouldn't have picked Bell. I mean,
I might have, just because the short track package is so good. But
they are good, but I don't think they were like better than Blaney or Byron or Hamlin good. Like,
I don't know.
I didn't think that, man.
They're like top 3, top 4 in short track speed all season.
But it's just Martinsville, man. Like, it's not his track. And I mean, he even admitted in his post-race stuff, like, this place has been tough on me over the years. Like, he wasn't even on my radar for basically a win this weekend. Like, I counted him out. That's bad on my part, but
I think part of it is that, like, there are tracks that drivers are good and bad at, but I think the prevailing thing is the results they show in season of where the package is good and where the package is bad. And I think we've seen this year in somebody like Christopher Bell, where maybe there are tracks, or even somebody like Larson in the past, where he went out and won Martinsville and stuff like that, when Martinsville is one of his worst tracks. These are still very good race car drivers who, if you give them good enough stuff, even if it's a mediocre or bad track for them, they'll still go out and win a race. And I think Christopher Bell all season long, being as fast as that team has been on short ovals all season long, I mean, obviously it was something good enough where they could go out and get track position and go out and do the thing. So
yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed with him. He was, I feel like we both of us said that he was like our dark horse kind of guy in the playoffs, like one to watch, had good speed, and they finally started putting that together, getting some stage wins there late in the regular season and into the playoffs. And then they all put it together really with another 4-tire call here again on Sunday by Adam Stevens. It didn't look good.
It didn't look good for like 6 laps, and then it looked really good.
I was nervous, man, because I thought, whoa, I mean they just threw this thing away. Yeah, that's true. But like, were you not nervous, or not necessarily nervous, or like, did you think they made the wrong call, like pitting for 4 there? Like,
I thought Briscoe made the right call, and I thought Bell made the right call. Just in terms of Briscoe, you have to throw that Hail Mary. Yeah. And if you're those guys, you kind of have to play the smart game of, if we can get there, the tires will be enough. And clearly they were.
Thank God. Because, I mean, if that was a spring race, I don't know if it would have, which is kind of crazy to think about. But Bell did a fantastic job executing, came up through the field after having a pretty poor qualifying back in 20th, and one of the only guys that made his way forward in that first stage. And I think that's where they kind of like, stake their claim that like they were going to be somebody to beat, and they ran around in the top 5 there while Hamlin dominated. And then the pit crew pounced at the right time, and the old 18 crew for Hamlin, after they made the swap, did not pay off. They had a couple of mishaps on pit road, slow stops compared to the competition. And that's ultimately probably the reason Hamlin's not in the championship 4, because he would have been right up there in the lead, or at least second, if things kind of fell his way where he had the track position and everything like that. But definitely a tough one for Hamlin to fall out like that. And his hunt for a first title will have to wait yet another season.
Yeah, and props to Christopher Bell for being able to go out and win in these must-win scenarios. Like we talk about these must-wins, blah, 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 whatever, and usually it's some long shot that never even gets close. And Christopher Bell has gone out and won not one, but twice. And because of that, he has an opportunity to run for a championship this upcoming weekend.
I'm ecstatic for him. So I hope he can pull it off. We'll get into our picks a little later, but you have anything else you want to address about the Cup Series stuff at Martinsville, or should we move on?
Not really. I think we're going to move on.
Martinsville, done and dusted for the Cup Series. Great final race for the round of 8. Should stay that way, obviously. Obviously, we had our concerns, going into it based off of the spring race, but it paid off once again on that final lap. But let's move on to the Xfinity Series here quickly, Kyle. Saturday night, under the lights, basically, it was turning into there at Martinsville for the Xfinity Series round of 8 finale, and chaos ensued on those final couple of restarts. And then ultimately the big move. Ty Gibbs wrecked his teammate Brandon Jones on the final lap to win the race after he had already been locked in, and knocks Brandon Jones out of a shot at a title next Sunday. And Justin Allgaier is the benefactor, as he is going to be taking that 4th and final spot. AJ Allmendinger is also out. Not the way he would have wanted to end his full-time Xfinity Series career before moving up to Cup next year for Colleague, but got into it late there with Allgaier, obviously. But the move for Gibbs and Jones, I mean, I'm beyond pissed. I think it's ridiculous what Gibbs did there. For the company's grandson to pull off that kind of move, and he's just going to have a little bit of a talking to, like after how many times he's been having to be told this. I mean, he's had a lot of instances throughout the year. He's been fined, for heaven's sakes, in the Cup Series. Like, I know he's, 20 years old, but you got to see a little bit of maturity when you're taking over the 18 car next year in a full-time capacity, the mothership of the Cup Series for that organization that it has been for many, many years. Prior to Kyle Busch, that was always been the main car in terms of number.
It literally is.
Right. So that's the number. That's the car. That's the team. And I mean, the immaturity that this kid is showing right now, both on the track and off the track, is flabbergasting to me that, they think he's mentally ready for the Cup Series. Talent-wise, he's fantastic. He's done unbelievable in the lower ranks. I think he's progressed faster than anybody ever thought he would have. To be able to go up to the Cup Series after one full-time Xfinity Series season is pretty remarkable. Still has a shot at a championship, obviously, this upcoming Saturday. But man, I feel so bad for Brandon Jones. I mean, he did everything really right in that race, qualified on the pole, led a bunch of laps. And, I'm fine with them bumping and banging there late in the race on the restarts, having to line up next to each other. That's fair game. If you do it to him and he does it back to you, manos y manos, you knock it out. But I mean, he wrecked them. Like he I don't care if he said that he was meant to move him out of the way. I mean, he knew what he was doing. So as much as Jesus Christ wants to save Ty Gibbs and everything like that right now, and how he's the second coming right now, like I find it absolutely moronic that this kid can pull that off. And then Coy Gibbs, and not even Joe Gibbs, has I don't even know if he was at the track, but if he was at the track,
be his father, not.
No, I think the organization, the owner of the team, should be in there. That's the grandson. That's the owner of the team. I don't care about what Coy Gibbs has to say. I want to hear from the man himself, Joe Gibbs, the guy that's giving him the seat. It's not Coy, it's Joe. And it's not, what Denny Hamlin said. Bring back. Well, I mean, I wish JD was here, because I think a lot of things have gone wrong since JD has left for a lot of different reasons. But what are your thoughts? I mean, like, I think it's completely ridiculous that Ty Gibbs is allowed to do that, and maybe just let it slide under the rug a little bit. And, he gets to go race for a title when a company car, they could have gone 2-2 with Junior Motorsports on Saturday, and they can't now because his own teammate wrecked them.
Is it stupid? Yeah. Is it immature to a certain extent? Yeah. If this is any other driver, what other team is like? What's a team gonna do? Like, what team's gonna like? What do you expect them to like suspend him for a race? Like,
no, I don't necessarily think suspend him, but like, we'll talk to him. We'll do it behind closed doors. That's the
professional way to handle things.
But no, but like, you got to make like what he did wasn't right.
Yeah, you do that behind the scenes. You don't sewer the guy in public.
I don't know, man.
No, like you're talking about like immaturity or whatever. That would be the immature way to handle it publicly. If you're a team owner, if you're a father of a person, like it's not just an ownership thing, it's also a family thing. You handle that behind the scenes. You scold the guy behind the scenes. You don't sewer him in person going into a championship race.
It's too family run. It's too much of that.
Yeah, it's motorsports.
Yeah, I think to this extent though, like,
what, they're not having a little bit
having a little bit of public criticism is not the worst thing. I disagree on that. I think they were pretty light on him,
saying that they're disappointed with his actions.
Yeah, but the way that he said them, it's different. Like,
again, because it's the mature way to handle it. It's the professional way to handle it. I don't think you can criticize a driver for acting immaturely on the track and then criticize the team for acting maturely off the track.
Like, I feel like he's going to get away with it too easy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they're going to say behind closed doors. Obviously,
if they're like acting the same way behind closed doors, yeah. If they're not chewing him out, telling him this is stupid, you can't do this. Why would you do this kind of thing? You need to be a good teammate, blah, 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 whatever. That's what you do behind the scenes. If they're not doing that behind the scenes, then yeah, absolutely. But I don't see any scenario why it would make any sense for JGR as an organization to chew out their driver. If it was Brandon Jones doing this to Ty Gibbs and they reacted the same way, this wouldn't be the reaction. And that would be the right way to handle it as well. Like, I don't agree with anything that Ty Gibbs did there. I think it's completely stupid from just an on-track perspective, but from the professional side of the people owning the team, what they should do, I think it's the right way to handle it. You handle that stuff behind closed doors. You don't air out your dirty laundry.
Well, Jesus is on his side. So, he's got him in his back corner at least. So he's got Joe Gibbs, Coy Gibbs, and Jesus. So that's a great trio for Ty. I mean, it just feels like he's had it too. I mean, obviously it's tough to say, like, he's been given the opportunity, right? He's taken the most of his talents and the equipment that he's in. It's not like he's, run terribly in them. He's won races. He's scored a lot of stage wins, a lot of laps. He's had a very impressive season, but what will his season be remembered as? I mean, if he wins the title, obviously a championship winning season, but if he doesn't, I think the negative stuff almost go toe to toe, maybe even surpass the positive stuff, where he has shown growth in some areas. I will give him that. He has shown a little bit more respect. I think a lot of people can, maybe almost turned their heads a little bit when he beat Larson at Road America, right? I feel like that was like, oh, hey, look at this kid, and he was pretty respectable afterwards. And I feel like he had a good stretch of runs there where it wasn't bad. And then I don't know if it's necessarily the fact that, I mean, it's a combination of things, right? He felt like he was robbed in the spring race. I disagree. Like, I mean, that's racing what happened in the spring where Jones won the race. And he got bumped out of the way, the mayor fight and everything, and everything that happened after that. But as soon as he's gotten this Cup Series ride, not necessarily for next year, but when he's taken over for Kurt, I think a lot of that's, maybe not a lot, but like, I think a lot of that's, I say a lot, I think a little bit has gone to his head in terms of like how fast he's grown. He's gotten up through the ranks and like, hey, I'm a Cup Series guy. I mean, he has done jack squat in that 23 car since he's got in after the first race, basically. Like, I don't think that's getting talked about enough where, yeah, he's getting reps, that's a Toyota car. That's very similar to probably what the 18 car is going to be next year in terms of,
I don't know overall, about that.
In what way?
I think you overestimate how much of a relationship 2311 and Joe Gibbs have.
I don't know if I necessarily
I wouldn't say that it's the same car.
No, I wouldn't say that they're the same car, but I think it's very similar in terms of what the expectations are. Either. I think they're very close. Based off of what 2311 speed has been, I think they've shown a lot of progression.
No, come on. Like the 18 car is expected to go for a championship. Kurt Busch was not expected to go for a championship in the 45. Like, come on. There's a bit of a difference there.
But at the end of this year, right, the 45 car or the 23 or whatever, that car has been much faster than the 18. Right? Like, I mean,
not really.
I would say so. Much more consistent for at the very least. I think they've been able to show up to the track and execute pretty darn well compared to the 18 team, which has just been a freaking you-know-what show the past half a season. I mean, it's been ridiculous how bad they've been. I mean, they've had chances to win, but bad luck and overall, reliability has let them down in some cases too. But like, I do think him having that car early and the fact that he was given that ride to replace Kurt, I think some of that stuff has gone to his head a little bit. And,
also,
I think he feels like he's got some. I don't feel like he has.
What has he done since he got in that ride that makes you feel like his actions have changed since before?
I think maybe the incident on pit road there.
Because I think that doesn't matter. Like, I think
having a message like that where it's
like, I don't think in the moment where he's getting angry and reacting like that, he's going, I'm a Cup Series driver. I'm better than you. I'm going to hit you. I think that's him getting hit on pit road. He's thinking. He's going, screw you, and he's reacting. I don't think it has anything to do with him being in a Cup ride. Because that pit road stuff happened in the Cup Series. So if that was going to be the case, wouldn't he be reacting like that in Xfinity and be acting, quote unquote, normally or respectfully in the Cup Series?
That's a good point. I feel like he feels like he's earned respect, but he hasn't yet. You know what I mean? Like, I think he wants that respect as a Cup Series level driver, actions, though? But he hasn't gotten that. But he doesn't deserve that.
Like, what has he done to make you feel like that's what he thinks, that he deserves respect or he's earned respect or whatever?
I think just, holier than thou in a way attitude that he kind of holds himself to. I know he obviously has his beliefs and everything like that. I'm never going to judge anybody's beliefs on that. But I think he takes it that step too far where he just like feels like, lo and behold, here I am. I'm like, I'm the guy kind of thing. And I think he's been raised in that scenario, in this kind of situation where he's been led to believe that. And I don't think that's the case whatsoever. He's been given every opportunity and he has taken advantage of them, like I said, but his attitude in terms of how it's very fake to me on how he talks. And that's probably from a lack of maturity.
That, it's either one or the other. It's either he acts that way and he believes that way. It's fake. It can't be both.
Maybe it's a mixture, if that's fair to say. Like, when I see him kind of do press and stuff, like, I don't necessarily believe what he's saying.
Well, that's just any media trained athlete. I don't know. Like, you can look at, like, not to make it a hockey thing, but you can look at Mitch Marner quotes and be like, oh, this is a guy that's saying bullshit just because it's a media thing and he knows how to talk.
I wouldn't say that he knows how to talk. Yes, he does. In terms of like, he knows how to say the right sounds, say the right things, but I don't know if he believes it. In the 21st
century, or like at least right now, has been media trained to the point where when they know how to say the quote unquote right thing. And to a certain extent, that's what Ty Gibbs does. And that's what he should do to a certain extent. It's not great from a media perspective. You wish he would say what's on his mind, whatever. But I think part of the quote unquote learning process that people have wanted him to go through is the early season stuff where he's making certain comments about certain drivers or whatever. And instead of doing those things, he's either being apologetic in post-race or in interviews and stuff like that. Like, my mind goes back to the Ryan Sieg stuff where it was, this is back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And then they have a couple of on-track incidents. It goes afterwards. And then it gets to the point where he's apologetic or whatever. Whether it's truthful or not, that's a media trained thing. And people are like, okay, he's learning, whatever. And I don't think it can kind of be like both sides of it from that perspective. Like, it can't be both of fair. He's fake, he whatever, blah, 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 but also he should be professional. He actually
is that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. I wish I'd see more personal growth over the course of this season from him. Like, I feel like he's just been saying the same stuff over and over and over again. And I haven't really seen much of a change, and that is evidenced by Saturday's incident. Like, if you had learned bigger picture stuff, like the Ty Gibbs racing stuff is no joke to an extent, because like, he feels like he can get away with that stuff because his dad is an executive and his grandfather owns the team. Like, his name's on the door. I don't think any, like, Brandon Jones wouldn't do that to Ty Gibbs
or anything like that.
No,
but like,
I don't think
when
anybody
you say
does.
He can get away with it, if it was Noah Gragson dumping Josh Berry, or let's say it was Noah Gragson dumping Sam Mayer, and Sam Mayer gets knocked out from the championship race, like, is Noah Gragson not getting away with that? Like, what do you mean by getting away with it? Like, what are the ramifications that are supposed to happen?
In a racing sense, it's always difficult.
Because like I hear people say like he can get away with it, blah, blah, blah.
He's just consistently being rewarded with stuff, and he's not having to pay the price in a way. Like he's getting a Cup Series
isn't
ride.
That every good driver? Like you can look over the history of the
after a season
NASCAR
like this, where he's had
Series.
so many different like incidents on the track, like a
like,
lot of people in the past would not be seen as a Cup Series level driver at that point, maturity wise. Talent wise has nothing to do with it, right? Like maturity wise, I think we've, the press and the media and everybody is, we've been pretty honest. I'm going to say that we're press, but like when there's been past instances where, we've seen this level of, incidents at a lower level. Like, I mean, we saw Gragson even do it earlier this year. Like, but I feel like
he's somebody that's also moving up to the Cup Series.
I feel like he's grown from that though.
And I think that's fair to say, but
there is an age discrepancy there. Yeah. And money and whatever. Like there's a lot of different things.
But like the point that you're making, it makes it seem like the only reason he's getting a Cup Series right is because his last name is Gibbs. If he wasn't tied to Joe Gibbs Racing, if he was just Joe Smith, who had no affiliations with any manufacturer or anything,
Joe Smith,
every Cup Series team is trying to get him in.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I understand the frustration. I think it's an incredibly dumb move to move your teammate who was objectively worse at Phoenix than Justin Allgaier and let a different guy get into the championship.
Well, don't remember
all that different stuff.
He beat Kyle Busch that one time.
No, I'm not saying he's not good at Phoenix or anything like that, but Justin Allgaier is great at Phoenix. All of that kind of stuff. It's an incredibly stupid move from his own perspective. And I think from an on-track perspective, you got to look bigger picture, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not saying that it's a good move or anything like that. I think that people are crucifying him because that's probably not the right word to use given all the comments. Sorry. But I think people are overly critical of Ty Gibbs because it's Ty Gibbs. And I don't like the guy. And I've been vocal of that for a long time. I'm not particularly fond of him. But I think that this kind of situation has been overblown to an extent because his name is Ty Gibbs.
Fair point.
Like I said, if this is Noah Gragson dumping Sam Mayer, it's completely different.
Yeah.
The reaction. So
yeah, and obviously and
it's just a stupid
element having
Noah
the last
Gragson
name as the same
Sam
card
Mayer.
owner, right? Like all these different things just
I get it.
Add up to that. But
like whether it's the perspective of not being criticized more in the media by his team owners, I don't see why any team owner should be criticizing their driver to a certain extent beyond what I saw from specifically Coy. I didn't really see anything from Joe Gibbs.
He didn't say anything.
You can say whatever you want about that, and I think that's fair. But I don't think that
that's more my issue than maybe the statement is that Joe didn't step up and say something, because that's his car that he took out.
And that's fine. And I think there's a certain
I don't need
extent,
the fatherly figure coming in, and
that's very fair.
That's my boy.
And I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. At the same time, I think that in professional sports, you make those blasé comments in the media and you handle things properly behind closed doors if you're running a professional operation. That's what Joe Gibbs Racing is. So I understand where the criticisms come from. I understand why people are mad at Ty Gibbs and everything. I think it was a dumb move as well. But for me, I think the difference is that I think it's a stupid move and something that he needs to learn bigger picture and stuff like that versus a spoiled brat who's getting his way because his last name is Gibbs. I think that's the difference for me.
Yeah, I can understand that perspective 100%. I think it's good.
And it's not that one is right or wrong.
No,
it's obviously 100%. A very nuanced situation.
Yeah.
Especially when a last name is involved in all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, at least for myself, I look at it and I go, kind of the way that everything is handled there. I don't think that there's any difference if it's star driver A dumping teammate B in a silly situation. So that I think that's where the difference between me and you kind of is in our perspective.
Yeah. All good. Love the conversation.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Appreciate it. I think we get into our picks now, Kyle. We've lingered long enough.
So clearly, you're picking Ty Gibbs as your favorite driver for the Xfinity Championship, right?
I hope he's wrecked on lap one. I hope he doesn't even make the grid. I hope he doesn't. I need RC to bring him his watch.
Oh man, good stuff. Alrighty, Truck Series. We start with trucks, right?
Yeah, we gotta go trucks.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Friday night, my birthday. I'll be at the track, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy early birthday! Look at this guy.
Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy weekend. So might as well
try to save the beverages for after the weekend.
I did hear from the media center that it does close at beer 30. So on Sunday night. So
try not to look like
hopefully
Ben
it's
Rhodes.
some Busch beer. You know what I mean?
Try not to look like Ben Rhodes after all of this.
Yeah. Oh man, if I get another drunk press conference there, holy smokes! I totally forgot about that.
Man.
So championship 4 for the Truck Series, the final time. Camping World as the series sponsor.
I mean, you never know. Craftsman's coming back, so it could be.
Well, true. We've had Gander, we've had Grandeur RV and Outdoors. Camping World twice.
It looks great with Craftsman back.
I love the Craftsman logo and that, like NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. You know what I mean? Like you're getting right in there with the Craftsman.
Oh man,
I do like Camping World. I think I like the Camping World truck, but like Craftsman, just like boom, it just gets in there. But the championship 4 for the trucks, who unfortunately did not race at Martinsville this past week, and I think that should be fixed moving forward. But we've had enough maybe storylines for the weekend that we didn't really need that. So for the trucks on Friday night, Ben Rhodes will go out there to try and defend his title. Chandler Smith will be going for his first title and his final Truck Series start and the final Toyota start for KBM.
Zane, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Gonna be an emotional night. Zane Smith as well, making it back to the championship 4 for the 3rd year in a row. Still waiting for that first title.
I didn't realize it was 3 straight.
Yeah. And then Ty Majeski winning twice in the round of 8. He is racing for his first Truck Series title as well.
That's what you call
was it round of 8 or round of 6? I have no idea what the hell the trucks are. No, it's round of 8. It's 10 to 8.
10 to 8.
Yeah. It's stupid.
That's one thing we do agree on.
So yeah, Ty Majeski's in there. Very much a short track ace, but we got to make our predictions 4-1 here, Kyle. There's a lot of good storylines in here.
Let's start with who we want to win.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's start with who we want to win, and then we'll go 4-1 in our predictions.
Yep.
Who do I want to win?
Yeah.
Ty Majeski. Of course I want Ty Majeski to win. Seeing somebody who, similar to Josh Berry and the storyline that he's had and going from late models and whatever up to Xfinity and succeeding, he's a guy that's worked his ass off to get to where he is. And whether it's running short tracks all over the place, to joining Thor Sport on a part-time basis and working in the shop, to figuring out a way to land a full-time deal, to making the playoffs, to finally breaking through in this round and winning not once but twice. It would be awesome to see after kind of the up and down career that he's had, even taking over the Nice truck, I think it was, right? The Nice truck after Ross Chastain left.
Yeah.
And when they had the GMS partnership end and everybody saw his numbers and was like, this guy's terrible, all that kind of stuff. I think it would be great.
60 car there for a bit too.
That's right. Yeah. Series. Even before that, it would be great to see Majeski break through and kind of put a stamp on whatever happens in the future, but to kind of put that stamp on, I'm a damn good driver and I won a championship. That would be really cool to see.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with Ty Majeski, but I got to go with Chandler Smith.
Okay. I'll be honest. I thought you were going the other Smith.
Who I want to win.
No, right? I know.
Chandler Smith, I want to win because I want KBM and Toyota to go out in a winning way. As much as Toyota's hurt my feelings this year, well, I wouldn't even say it's Toyota. It's more Joe Gibbs that I have the issue with than Toyota.
Really? No way. I couldn't get that feeling.
Yeah. Where is there a Joe Gibbs Racing logo on this? I might have to. Yeah, right there. I might have to just cross that right out. But
just get a piece of tape.
Yeah, exactly. But I do want Chandler Smith to win because he has had a really good season, and I do want to see him excel, at the next level.
There we go. There's a new one.
That's another one. Out to toast. Oh dear. So Excel. It's going to be a nice Excel branded Microsoft Edge or whatever. But Chandler Smith, this track is really good to him too. So I think that he's got a really good shot at it. But I think he's just been so good this year. And I do want to see just KBM go out on top with Toyota before the inevitable rebuild starts next year. I'm very curious to see what their package and overall performance looks like in 2023. Driver lineup to be determined, but Nick Sanchez is rumored to be going there. And then who knows what the other seat is going to be. I'm hopeful it's not Jack Wood, but we'll see. But yes, Chandler Smith is my guy that I would like to see win on Friday night.
Alrighty. Shall we get into the 4-1? Shall we?
Yep. You go first. I'm gonna rewrite mine out so I can properly do this.
After pumping his tires, as I want him to win, I've got Majeski finishing 4th here. They're the only team with 2 trucks in the championship for Thor Sport, so you've got some split resources and stuff. And Ben Rhodes has been there, done that, and we haven't seen it yet from Time Majeski. He's won 2 races in the last round. It's great that he's on this roll and stuff. But the winning stuff is still new to him. We've seen the other drivers in this championship win more often, be up front more consistently. And so for that reason, I think Majeski's going to finish 4th here.
I don't have Majeski finishing 4th.
Okay.
I have the defending Truck Series champion finishing 4th. Reason being, their speed has not been there this year like it was last year. They had obviously the 2 wins to start last year really early on, and then that really propelled them into, knowing that they were clinched and they had a lot of time, I feel like, to just hone in on their craft. They showed good spurts of speed at times, and then, they were struggling a little bit. But like this year, I feel like vocally, we have heard from Ben Rhodes and ThorSport that 99 team is not where they want to be speed-wise. They had a good Homestead, but I feel like they put a lot of emphasis on that race because they knew that they needed it to make it to Phoenix, and they weren't in as comfortable a position as they were last season to make it. And I do think that will plague them a little bit. I mean, Rhodes was pretty lucky to win it last year. If John Hunter Nemechek didn't hit the wall basically on lap 1, he had the fastest truck by far. He drove back up to like 7th, I think, at the end there after being like 2 laps down. Like if he was fine, he probably wins that championship. But that's ifs, ands, or buts. You can't go back. But I do think Ben Rhodes does not quite have the speed that the other 3 have to execute here. And I like the other 3 quite a bit at this track. So I do think that he finishes 4th.
Yeah, and Ben Rhodes is number 3 for me. For a lot of the reasons you mentioned, where of the championship 4 guys, he's been pretty clearly the 4th driver over the course of the season. I've got him number 3 just because, like I said, the been there, done that factor, the having raced on the track for a championship, all that kind of stuff. And let's not forget as well, this is the Truck Series, so it's not necessarily you need to go out and win the race. You just need to finish ahead of the other guys. Whereas in the other series, it's much more you need to win the race. But for this circumstance, I think ThorSport is a little bit behind the other 2, at least trucks, maybe not the teams as a whole, but the 2 trucks for sure. And that's why I've got them 4 and 3 for myself. And I think that if either of them is to get up in the mix, it might have to be because of a little bit of strategy.
Could be. We've seen a late caution there cost Brett Moffitt a championship before. So
cost him a keep that extra GMS too. So
yeah. Who knows where he's going to end up next year. I have Ty Majeski 3rd. So just swapping the places there. I just like, it's not necessarily a short track, but I do like Majeski's overall ability. Shorter track, right? I think Majeski's overall skill will play advantage here. I could see him potentially qualifying well and leading a bit early on, but I think as the night goes on, I think the 2 guys I have ahead of him will prevail a little bit, maybe over the course of a long run. And I mean, I'm shocked that Majeski won Homestead because like they've been able to work to be able to, focus on Phoenix for so long here because they know they've won since Bristol. The fact that they brought a really good piece to Homestead is surprising. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Momentum's obviously great, but surprised that they were able to bring the race-winning truck to Homestead when a lot of other people had a lot more at stake. So Majeski's going to finish 3rd for myself at Phoenix.
Let's go to number 1 then, or
number 1.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to go first?
The Battle of the Smiths.
You want to go first? Or you want me to take this one?
I can go first.
Okay.
So my champion for the Truck Series this season, Third time lucky for Zane Smith. I think he does it. He has been the best driver in the Truck Series this season, consistency wise. He's got 13 top fives and 18 top tens, 8 stage wins, 3 victories. He's just had a complete season, and I think he'll be rewarded for that on Friday. And I think he's kind of due for it. I feel like he's been in contention the last 2 seasons. He's put himself in a good position. I don't know if GMS has necessarily brought him the best truck to execute that, but I do think that, the first year, I think we were all surprised that he kind of made it there. Last year was pretty solid. This year, he's taken his next step as like the perennial championship kind of caliber Truck Series driver that we kind of could have seen him progress to being. And I think he gets it done on Friday, and Chandler Smith falls 1 spot short of a Truck Series title for KBM.
Yep. And funny enough, I've got the reverse where Chandler Smith takes the championship for myself. I think this is going to be a great battle between these two, or at least I hope it is, because Zane Smith, underrated driver at Phoenix as well, and it finished second in that first Phoenix battle, and then had a solid top 5 last year, just finished runner-up in the championship both times there. But I think Chandler Smith going out there being eligible for the championship, we've already seen him go out and do it at Phoenix. And it's whether he can do it with the pressure on and stuff like that. I don't think that Chandler Smith is a driver that's too worried about the pressure. And we'll see if that's the case.
He's got a lot of talent, man. There's a reason why colleagues got him.
And he's put up a ton of results. And this is a driver that I'm super high on. So, unfortunately, I think it's going to not be
bridesmaid again.
Bridesmaid again. Some Vancouver Canucksisms here for Zane Smith. Sorry.
Uncalled for.
It was uncalled for. That was my bad. I couldn't help myself. But hey, look, both guys are going to be excellent talents going into the future. I'm super, super excited to see Chandler Smith at the Xfinity Series next year. But yeah, I think he gets it done at Phoenix. Look, 2 third places and a first. Like, the numbers speak for themselves.
So you think Smith is going to excel the best, eh?
I will take a Smith to win the championship.
Nice. Good. All righty.
And now it's going to be like Ben Rhodes from 7th after everybody wrecks.
God, I'm good with 3 of the 4 there. I mean,
I'm good with any of them, because if Ben Rhodes wins, then we're going to get drunk Ben Rhodes again. So.
I just don't really like Ben Rhodes after last year, or when he wrecked Eckes there. Like, it just.
Buddy holds a grudge.
This kind of set me off a little there.
They're friends now.
Oh, I don't know about friends. Frenemies. Xfinity Series.
One more thing. Does the Truck Series champion win the race?
Great question. Yes.
Okay.
I think those 4 are too good this year to say. Only reason it would be is John Hunter Nemechek. That's the only reason I would say that they don't. But he's been so mistake-proven this season. Like, I mean,
the pressure's not on anymore. I don't know. I think that the winner also wins the races.
Okay, we'll do that for all 3. We'll do that.
I guess it is interesting for all 3 to a certain extent.
Yep.
Xfinity time.
Yep. Championship 4 for Xfinity. Noah Gragson, Josh Berry, Ty Gibbs, and Justin Allgaier.
Wait, sorry. I stopped watching the Xfinity race with 3 laps to go. Is it not the 19?
That's what I thought too. Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
I had to Google it and something came up there. Seemed a little spicy, but Ty Gibbs racing doing a great job there.
Speaking of, excellent job, Noah Gragson. Bravo. That post-race quote, that was good stuff. That was good comedic timing.
Like that kid. Who do you want to win the Xfinity Series championship on Saturday?
I mean, you just heard what I said about Ty Majeski, right? It's Josh Berry. It's got to be Josh Berry for me. Look, I'm a guy who loves somebody in sports that does it the hard way.
The underdog.
And whether, that's exactly it. Funny enough, my dad, when he was drag racing, the underdog logo was on his car. So there you go.
You got to get him a t-shirt.
Oh, he's had a t-shirt for a long time. It has armpit holes and it is not good.
Maybe give him a new one.
He doesn't want a new one. So we've tried. But anyways, other than that, He also dressed up as Joe Exotic today. It was messy. It
Oh
was not
no,
good.
he
I'll
didn't.
show you.
Are you serious?
It's disgusting. He's probably not going to hear this, and if he does, I hope he does, and I hope he texts me about it because you should never have posted that online.
He was
but
like
anyways,
a year and a half too late to the trend a little bit.
Yeah, that's his timeline. So, yeah, I don't know. He said he started sending me. We're off the rails. We're officially off the rails. He sends me Instagram reels that I saw on TikTok 3 weeks ago. I don't know. It's the whole thing. But anyways, I like people that do it the hard way, and whether it's in whatever sport it is, like I don't know, like hockey, and it's somebody that played Division
like
III NCAA goes to and goes to Europe and comes to the NHL and makes it as a fourth liner.
Dennis
Malgin. I love that stuff. Not Dennis Malgin made the NHL at 19. There I was talking about Justin Danforth. Come on now.
Okay, sorry.
Nobody should know who Justin Danforth is. I'm a nerd. But anyways, I like guys who do it the hard way. And Josh Berry is a guy that spent years and years and years doing the late model thing with Junior Motorsports. They finally got enough results and sponsorship and whatever, and the opportunity to go Cup Series or go. I mean, technically, he did go Cup Series racing a little bit, but to go Xfinity Series racing full time, run for a championship, and he's going out and he's going to run for a championship this weekend. It would be so cool to see not just Josh Berry be able to culminate with a championship, but also to see somebody that is like a legitimate friend of Dale Jr. and see that relationship result in a championship. That would be really cool.
I agree. I love Josh Berry, but I do want to watch Noah Gragson win the championship and throw up all over himself. I mean,
does he throw up more after the race because of exhaustion, or does he throw up more after the celebration?
Both. I mean,
both. Fair enough.
I think he'll be so loaded with fluids both before and after the race.
That 16 stage wins this year.
It's insane.
Holy smokes, man!
It's Truex 2017 level dominance there. It's impressive what he's done. But yeah, I do want to see Gragson win for that celebration, but also because I think he deserves it the most this season. How much, like I said before, growth that I've seen from him. I think that Road America incident really kind of woke him up a little bit, realizing, never to do that kind of stuff again. And I've just been impressed with his ability to just manage a race better this year. Like I liked the kid when he was driving for KBM. He made it to the championship for that 1 year, finished third in the title race. But he didn't quite have that caliber of truck series ride that like he took over for like the Eric Jones and the Christopher Bell kind of era there that, they were really dominant then for KBM. Like that was when they were at their kind of peak almost. And then he went to the Xfinity Series and just, was good. He obviously should have probably won both Homestead races there in 2020, right? He came short, but, wasn't as good as what the 9 car had been years previous with Chase Elliott and William Byron behind the wheel. So you're like, oh, does this kid really have it? And then the past season made it to the championship 4. I don't think many people really would have saw that coming, but he, I think almost since he lost that race at Texas to Harrison Burton there, he's been almost on a roll ever since. And he's been slowly finding his way and just putting together races, which is obviously an extreme craft. And I truly believe he is one of the best instances or best cases of showing why you wait to develop drivers and just don't rush them to Cup in a way. Because he's been in the Xfinity Series for 3 full-time years now, and every single year he's gotten better and better and better. And this year he's taken that next step and he's proven that he's a Cup caliber driver, and he's going to be damn exciting to watch next year. Hopefully that Petty GMS can give him a good car, but with what you can see what Eric Jones is doing this year, Noah Gragson could be that in a couple of years' time with just more Cup level reps and stuff like that. But just his season this entire year has impressed me. It's not just been when he won the entire month of September. It was before that. I think that he's just been right there the entire time and has taken the spotlight away from, I think the, Allmendinger and Gibbs that were meant to, totally run away with this thing. I think Gregson's come along and snatched that right up. And I think that's been super impressive to watch.
Yeah, good stuff. Shall we go 4-1 now?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Do you want to lead this one off with fourth,
no,
or do you want me to take it?
You go first.
All righty. Fourth. Man, this is tough. This is a tough one.
It's a tough one.
I could legitimately see all four winning this.
If you want to know where they finish in the spring, right? Because we at least have that. It's the same car. And right? Justin Allgaier finished 10th, worst of the four. Ty Gibbs finished 6th. Josh Berry 3rd, and Gragson won the race. So in that top 10, could do it however they want. I mean, I don't know how much the car is really developed by then. It's the Xfinity car. There's not been too much change of it, but definitely an interesting one. So does that influence your picks at all, or?
It doesn't.
Okay.
Just like the last one, the guy I want to win, I think, is going to finish 4th, and that's Josh Berry. Whether it's on-track experience at this track, whether it's having 2 other teammates that are more experienced going up against him, whatever it may be, I think that he's going to be in tough going up against 2 other teammates that have put up really good results here. When you look at Allgaier's career and you look at Gragson winning earlier this race, or earlier this season, sorry. And then Ty Gibbs being kind of his own kind of unique situation. So because of that, I think it's going to be a bit tougher for Berry to go up there and maybe get up there and lead laps and get the win, because I think they'll need to get the win. So I'm going to put Berry 4th here. But this is tough. Like I could see like 1, 2, 3, 4 here.
Yep.
And that's pretty rare for the Xfinity Series off the top of my head.
Yep. It's a tough situation. Sorry,
not to interrupt, but to also say it usually we see an owner car in the mix here as well, which we don't have this year.
True.
So good that point. Mixes usually it up as well.
Either the 54, 22.
Yeah, we usually have something like that. So like last year we had John Hunter Nemechek.
Could have had been the 18 if Sammy Smith was able to win, but
yeah, that's true.
Came close. Came close.
He's a damn good driver. So
he is. 4th for me. I'm gonna go Ty Gibbs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I think that this kid is in for a rude awakening this weekend on what it takes to be a championship level driver at the Xfinity Series level. I think that they obviously have put a lot of prep into Phoenix, because obviously what we heard, they were in a really good points battle or points cushion going into Martinsville. They didn't have to worry about it, obviously. So I think that they've started this prep on this Phoenix car for quite a bit of time. I love Chris Gale. I think he's a great crew chief. I think he knows how to get dialed in, but I kind of like the other 3 cars and drivers a little bit more at this track. And I don't know if payback's coming. I don't think it will come from Brandon Jones, but I think that he'll be raced really, really hard. I think the competitors themselves have lost some respect for him this year. I mean, it's not just Brandon Jones he's pissed off. I mean, he's had a lot of run-ins with a lot of other guys, and I think that you can only make enemies for so long. And if this is your last time full-time in Xfinity, I don't think they're going to let that slide lightly. So I think that, the 54 will have a fast car. I could see him winning the championship based off of pure car and that alone. But I think he finishes 4th at Phoenix.
Alrighty. Number 3 for me, and I think this one's going to surprise you a little bit. I've got Justin Allgaier finishing 3rd. I look at the other 2.
He was your pre-playoff prediction champion.
Yep. I've just seen more from his teammate and Noah Gragson in terms of having faith to go out and potentially win, and then going up against one driver from one organization. We talk about Allgaier being very good at this track, and he absolutely is, but it's also been a couple of years now since he's really had those very, very strong results that he had in like 16, 17, stuff like that. So could he go out there and win it? Absolutely. I would not be surprised if he goes out and wins the championship. I think it's going to be a great fight between all 4 of these guys. Somebody's got to finish 3rd. And I think I like the role that Noah Gragson's on a little bit more, and then the solo effort from Ty Gibbs.
I'm going Allgaier 3rd as well. Okay. I'm a little less high on Allgaier at this track than you are, and I'm glad you brought it up. Like, the results haven't been fantastic here lately. He had a moment there, I want to say like 2016-ish range, where he was like top 4 and winning races here consistently. But the last time he won here was in the fall of 2019. So it's been a couple of years since then. He's had a 13th, a 5th, an 8th, a 9th, and a 10th. So it hasn't been the stretch of results that you would expect from maybe a championship caliber driver.
I do think there's some context there that's missing as
100%,
well.
100%. But just on paper, I think that I like the situation the other two have been in a little bit more so than Allgaier this year. I think Allgaier is really good on select tracks. I don't know if he's the full complete driver to get a full championship caliber season. I know it comes down to one race, but I do like Barry and Gragson for myself a little bit more to prevail this weekend. And then there were two. For yourself,
not the same two.
Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs. For myself, Josh Berry and Noah Gragson. So, Mr. Cushman, who hoists the Xfinity Series trophy on Saturday night?
I am loving this race on paper. I cannot wait to see how this race plays out and whether it's certain on-track stuff or whatever. It's just this Xfinity Series is so good. So consistently good. Every race it feels like is amazing. And last year, obviously, we saw the chaos that was the end of that race. But I can't wait to see how this one plays out. I think it's going to be a great battle between, I'm going up to it. I think it's going to be a great battle between Gragson and Ty Gibbs, but I do have Ty Gibbs winning the 2022 Xfinity Series Championship. Look, all everybody says is Ty Gibbs has a fast car because Joe Gibbs Racing puts more into it. You think going into a championship race where, for better or worse, he's the only Joe Gibbs Racing car in there, they're not going to put everything into it. So I think that
I don't disagree with you on the car.
I think that's going to be a damn tough car to beat. And I'm not sure that even if people want to go up there and get retribution, that the people that want to might not be able to catch him. So I like Ty Gibbs a lot this weekend. He's shown an ability to have really good results at Phoenix. And I think we're going to see a great battle between the championship guys. I just can't see the championship guys wrecking each other for the championship in the way that you're kind of implying with like a Brandon Jones type thing. There might be some kind of context. No, I know what you mean. But I mean, in terms of, I don't think that there's going to be any kind of quote unquote retribution on track for Ty Gibbs in a way that will prevent him from going out and winning the championship. So I do think that he'll go out there and win the 2022 Xfinity Series Championship.
Can't go wrong with him. As much as I've been harsh on him,
you could go wrong with him. There's a 25% chance on paper.
True, but you got a 70. No, that's not how the math works at all. That is, oh boy. I need my Excel. For myself, I think the most dominant car of the year gets it done. And the most dominant driver of the year gets it done. I think Noah Gragson does win the Xfinity Series Championship. Like I said earlier, I think the growth that I've seen from him and just his ability to just perform under pressure pack situations. I know he throws up, but like he's darn good in pressure pack situations. Like this year, he's been in a lot of late race battles, a lot of late race restarts where he's had to hold off the competition, not necessarily pass them, but, really try and execute a late race restart or, just hold his breath essentially. And I think he's done a really damn good job when you look at what he had to do with Brandon Jones on fresher tires at Bristol. Like that is damn hard to do, holding off a guy like that when you're on over 100 lap old tires. Like that is pretty darn impressive. So all of those like minute instances throughout the year where he's gained experience in different situations, I think will pay dividends for him, and 3 years of Xfinity Series racing will pay off for him, and he's going to go out of the Xfinity Series as a champion. So Josh Berry finished second, Gragson hoisted the trophy on Saturday.
So one thing I do find very interesting is how the prevailing thought is how dominant Noah Gragson has been. And I think that he has been the dominant car this year, but he's actually not the leader season long in points. You know who is?
Isn't it Allmendinger?
It is AJ Allmendinger. Yeah. It would only be a 13-point gap if it weren't for the 30-point penalty. It's a 43-point gap. But I thought that's pretty interesting when you look at the consistency of Allmendinger.
Huge.
And just missing out
great.
Versus Gragson, who's had a really strong season in terms of getting those stage wins, getting some really big wins and stuff, but kind of faltering here and there. And in the Xfinity Series, because it is basically all the top guys always finish in the top 10. And if you don't, you have a bad points day. Some of those bad results are kind of more pronounced than it would be even in the Truck Series, but especially in the Cup Series. But I did find that interesting when I looked that up.
It is a good note. Like, it's
But
kind of been boomer bust
2 through
for
5
Gragson.
are the
like,
championship 4. So.
Yeah. I'm not surprised by that. And then there was one, but we'll save that for a little bit later because we have a draft to get to. We're going to keep you in suspense.
We don't want to spoil each other's picks with the draft. We got to get to the draft first.
We got to do our draft for the final time this year. Oh God. I mean, of course we didn't do it last week for Martinsville. And probably a good thing because I feel like I would have lost based off of my hunch going into the weekend on who I would have thought. But fantasy wise, I did really well in our week ahead. But you have been kind of slated because you missed 2 guys. You did back-to-back lineups for some guys, and you couldn't. I could tell based off your lineup that it was not everybody you wanted to use.
So a little bit,
it was on the fence. So going into that, do you know what the week-to-week is on that? Is it close?
I haven't checked, but you've definitely got it wrapped up. I think it's like somewhat close. I think it's probably like maybe 3 race difference.
But I've got the overall by quite a bit. So
yeah. When I have a bad week, I have a really bad week. So
yeah, we're close most of the time though.
That's the problem. You always have like a good baseline, and I'm like all over the place.
You made up for it in the draft by quite some margin. So
I'm a good drafter. What can I say?
You won the last time out handedly, I might add.
I wasn't going to mention that, but
at Homestead, good Lord. I mean, I couldn't have missed it more than I did. I mean, it was terrible.
Hey, you hit on some, you lose on some.
I've been losing a lot in this draft, but you get the first pick or the first choice on where you would like to go, the first overall pick or the wraparound for Phoenix. And of course, this takes into consideration the points that are given to the championship 4. No stage points are earned for them. So, the highest that the 4th guy could, if they finish in the top 4, I think is 33 points, correct? Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So on paper, that's decent, but if you got some guys that are up there for stage wins and good stage points that are in that mix, may not be the top 10 kind of day or a very much a later round pick, if you will, for overall points, but we shall see. So what do you want to do?
I will take the first overall pick. Wanted the first overall pick?
Not going to say anything.
That reaction makes it kind of seem like you wanted the first overall pick.
Just make your pick.
With the first overall pick. I am pleased to select.
Keep it going. Come on.
Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah.
Kyle Larson.
Yeah. You son of a.
Look, it's kind of playing the system here. Because Kyle Larson, even though NBC doesn't want you to think so, is a championship 4 driver. Just not for the drivers' championship. He's in the owners' championship, which I believe means on Sunday, Kyle Larson will be credited with stage points, but the owners' championship will not get those stage points.
Yeah,
won't get those stage points.
Yeah.
So
he will get race points.
In theory, if we have this right, Kyle Larson will be going there trying to win a championship and also gets the stage points. So for that reason, he's my first pick.
You disgust me.
And I might be galaxy braining it here if he isn't eligible.
I'm going to ask. We got to tweet Bob. We need to know what Bob knows.
He definitely knows.
I really did want Larson this week. Oh, this sucks. Yeah. All right. Well.
Where are you going?
Okay. Well, I will.
Criticizing me for stalling. Jeez.
For my second and third picks, I feel pretty good about both of them here. I will be going with Denny Hamlin.
Okay.
Yep. Got pretty decent numbers here the past couple of times, man. And if he's getting stage points, I gotta take him. I think he'll be up there. I think they were probably expecting to have a championship 4 kind of car. So I don't imagine that they wouldn't stick with that. And And for my third pick, I will be taking none other than a guy that could be a serious threat to be in the top 5 and get a good amount of stage points is Ryan Blaney.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to go the stage
Blaney
point
guy.
game here earlier on and say that those two are going to be somebody to be reckoned with. And I just feel like Blaney, even though he's not been in the championship 4, he's been right there the last 2 years outside. He's been like the best of the rest almost the last 2 years at Phoenix in this championship race. So I'm going to say that trend kind of continues. He hasn't been necessarily that same speed that he has been the last 2 years this year.
They've been short oval speed though. I like them
overall. I do like them to be a very strong contender for good points day.
Yep.
On Sunday.
I like that. Those are two guys that I was absolutely looking at for the next couple of picks here.
You seem surprised by my Hamlin pick, so
I just didn't think that he would be like the first like guy off the board. Like I would have thought that, I don't know, if you took Blaney 2 and Hamlin 3, I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, well, there's no real order for them. Yeah,
I know,
okay,
but it was just that hearing Hamlin first, I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. But
yeah,
anyways,
switch it around. I'll take Blaney second, so it doesn't sound so stupid.
No, locked in. It's like taking which Sedin you took first. So,
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh.
Like, exactly. I mean, it worked out well for the Canucks to a certain extent. Canucks show, I'm sorry for bringing them up all the time. 4th overall, I will take Chase Elliott. Championship 4 means a pretty good baseline. And Chase Elliott has the history of good results at Phoenix and Hendrick Motorsports. So I'll take Chase Elliott 4th, and I will take Christopher Bell 5th.
No, you did not. Oh no, you didn't.
I set that up. I really liked Christopher Bell this weekend, and I knew I was going to get that reaction when I took him. So Christopher Bell is my 5th pick.
You can't do that to me, man.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry, but it's too easy. I got to do it.
I could cry.
Big Christopher Bell guy, hey?
I wanted him so bad. I didn't want to take him 2-3, man. It was too early.
Was it too early? I don't think it was. Oh my God. I'm not sure if this is going to help you or hurt you, but if I took the 2-3, I would have taken Christopher Bell in the 2-3. So there's that.
Well, that sucks.
For you, it does.
I'm emotional, man. I really wanted him, man. I really, really wanted him. I've had him like the whole playoffs. I really wanted to finish it off with him. Oh, man.
Okay, here's an idea. Okay, here's an idea for next year. If you want to really get into it,
you want to have a trade
keeper from week to week.
No, it's too much.
No? Okay.
Well, so no, I mean, I'm too emotional right now to even think about it. So that's something I may consider offline.
It's an interesting idea.
I can't believe you just took him. Oh my God. That is.
You thought I was letting you get him to 6-7? Come on.
I don't know who your picks are this year. So, that's the thing that pisses me off the most.
All right. 6th overall. Where are you going?
Oh boy.
Big decisions.
I don't know.
Just straight up, I don't know.
This sucks.
You got to pick somebody.
Okay, you know what?
You got to know one at least you want to take.
I will take. You're taking the first 2 championship 4. I'll take the other 2.
Whoa.
Yep.
Wow. This is the first time you're taking in what order? I think that's important.
I'm going to take Chastain first.
Okay.
And then Logano after that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is the highest Chastain's been drafted, maybe. Actually, I might have taken him 5th.
You picked him 5th. Yeah, you've taken him 5th. But I will take the other 2 just in case that they are 40 and 35. I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
I got to cover my bases, as you like to say. And Chastain finished 2nd in the spring. Car has completely evolved since then, so I don't think that they'll be anywhere near kind of overall performance. If you can look back at that race, so much has changed. And I like Logano because of their gateway speed earlier this year. They won that race, and it's not necessarily the same thing, but kind of sweeping corners, I do think pays dividend. And Logano's been pretty good here at Phoenix in the past. So I like both of those guys to be up there, obviously, to compete for a championship. I don't know if they are my favorites, but I got to just make sure I cover my bases. And in the off case that momentum from Chastain ripping the wall and he's going 20 miles an hour faster, getting to Phoenix, it could pay off. So I will take Chastain and Logano for my 7 and 8, or 6 and 7.
6, 7. I did not expect you to take both. I thought you might take one. Didn't expect you to take both. And that makes it a good thing. Interesting for me. I wanted at least one more of them if I could have got them. It's just a very safe base level of points.
Yeah.
But hey, I think it's way better if we each have 2. Just from
you probably took the 2 that I wanted, so
that's why I took the 2 that I wanted. So 8th overall, I will definitely take Kevin Harvick. Over the last, I don't even know what the streak is, but for sure over the last 7 Phoenix races, he's finished in the top 10 every time.
It's been really good.
In the last championship race, of course, the first one at Phoenix, or no, the second one at Phoenix, right? I don't know. Time is relevant.
Which one?
The most recent one. So this is the 3rd Phoenix championship race coming up. Yes. So the second championship race at Phoenix, Harvick, which is last year, Harvick had the most points in that race at 43. And so, look, they've been pretty crappy in the playoffs, all things considered. But SHR has had some pretty good speed on short ovals overall. And that's kind of taken a swing that they'll be able to go out there and have a good result. And I'll round it out with a guy that probably should have won the first championship at Phoenix, and Brad Keselowski. I'm going to buy into some of the Roush Fenway Keselowski hype. They've been really solid in the playoffs, really solid as of late. And I think that RFK, that's a team that's trying to build momentum into next year. And I can see them having a really solid end to the season. So I'll take BK as the final pick of my draft.
Oh, boy. Wasn't expecting that pick.
Did you want him?
No. Well, I'm just saying.
Definitive no. That means he's going to win.
Yeah, that's the 9th overall pick, man. What do you want?
I should have saved one of the championship 4 guys for them. Keep the streak alive.
If you thought
the streak has been buried, but who you taking 10th here?
It's pretty simple for me. I've given up on the overall draft kind of win.
So You've given up on the win already?
No, not necessarily this week, but this 10-week stretch.
Kept track of the head-to-head.
I mean, I've been clobbered. Yeah. So that's been gone for a couple weeks, but I am going to go sentimental. I am going to pick Kyle Busch.
You would. You're not. I thought you were going to take Ty Gibbs. Sorry.
Oh yeah. I have to. Because I just feel like I'd be a bad fan.
He just finished like 5 laps down.
I know.
He was worse than BJ McLeod.
I know. I mean, it was the worst. I think that is the worst race I've ever seen Kyle Busch run. If that makes I honestly think that's got to be up there. I think for him, he probably feels the same way. I don't think that they'll necessarily be that quick this weekend, but they have been decent on the shorter. Like I think back to Gateway, they could have won that race. Richmond, they've been good both times this year. Loudon, they weren't fantastic, but they were outside the top 10. But maybe he can get a couple stage points this weekend. I don't think he wants to end JGR last week. Like I would hope that they give him something good here, and they ride off into not the sunset because it's been pretty tumultuous this year, but. He hasn't been bad at Phoenix in the past couple of seasons, and maybe he has just like a average back end of the top 10 day. And that's kind of what he has. I think that's my expectation for him this weekend, but we'll see what happens. But I have to pick him as the last pick in the draft.
Hey, I mean, it's not a bad pick.
No, you can't go wrong with Kyle Busch.
But
this weekend, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt like crazy.
You're there too. So
yeah, it's going to hurt like a mother trucker, dude. Like it's gonna hurt. But I got to finish off with Rowdy.
Good stuff. Shall we? Let's recap quickly, and then we'll get into the championship picks.
Go ahead.
I have Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Kevin Harvick, and Brad Keselowski.
I've gone with Denny Hamlin, my first pick. Blaney. Then I've gone to the two championship guys in Chastain and Logano, ending it out with Kyle Busch. So that is it. The final draft of the year. We'll be back
we might
next
figure
year.
out some other thing to draft. I don't know. The drafts are fun.
True. They are very fun. I do like this new format that we've got. But we do have one more thing on tap here, Kyle. Our Cup Series.
We have to curse somebody.
Yeah. Oh boy. Who's gonna get the curse here this weekend? God, this is gonna be crazy. How do you want to go about this? Do you want to make owner picks or anything, or is that gonna come later? Or
forgot about that. I think the winner of the race wins the owner's championship.
Okay.
So like we can talk about actually no, because Elliott's not in it, right? So I don't think it's necessarily.
No, I agree that the owner.
So I don't know. We'll get to it if we have to.
Okay.
Also, I can start things off if you want. Yeah. Fourth. It mainly depends on what kind of race you think is gonna be. Like, do you think it's going to be a late race restart, or is it going to be a long green flag run to the finish? Because for me, it's two very different answers for how the race plays out. Knowing these cars and seeing what happened in the first Phoenix race, I think that we will see a late race caution.
I
for
agree.
that reason, it may come as a surprise that I have Chase Elliott finishing fourth out of the championship four. I drafted him first out of the championship four because I think he's the best odds to win the race if it does go green. But I think in a scenario where there's a caution late in the running, the number 9 team have been pretty mediocre to not good on restarts over the course of the season. Part of that may be because of track position and stuff. But they rank in the 20s in terms of retention rate and in terms of positions gained on restarts. And we know how chaotic the restarts get at Phoenix. They're some of the craziest that we have in the Cup Series. And for that reason, expecting there to be some kind of late race type thing where there needs to be some kind of important restart late, I think we could see a scenario where Chase Elliott is maybe the guy to beat, and then he gets beat on a restart. So I will have Chase Elliott finish fourth here.
So, I mean, this is just me here. All right. So this is my stupidity, or just like my weird things that I do. So I like to think that, or at least I feel like when you make it to the championship four, you almost never repeat the same position. Like it just feels like that.
This is very on brand for you.
Yeah. Isn't it? So Elliott in the championship four appearances, he's finished first and fourth last year. He finished last. So
who are you putting last?
I don't think he finishes last this year just based off of that knowledge. And
what if they already have 4 championship 4 appearances?
No, they don't.
No, I know. I'm saying, but like, what if they get to that point? What happens to your theory?
Well, I mean, Kyle has finished in he's made it 5 times. So he's made it in all different positions and then first twice. So like,
okay, so then from that point you just win. Okay, I got it. I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, he's got a couple more years before he gets a second title. A little tidbit there, a little tease. So I don't have Chase Elliott finishing last based off of my own stupidity theory.
I mean, it's good prediction. Don't get me wrong.
How many times has Logano made it? 2014.
He's made it 4 times, I think.
Is this his 4th?
He's been like, make it, don't make it, make it, don't make it. So I'm pretty sure that's 4.
Yeah, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. This is his 5th.
Yeah, so he's made it 4 times. So we've run into that scenario already.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus. So, okay. So I want to read the results out to you so I can see if your theory holds true. 2014 he was in it, right? Or
yeah.
no?
2014.
Yeah, 2014
he finished last.
Yeah, 16th in the race, so that would have been
last. 2016 he finished
2016 second. He finished 4th in the race,
2018
so that's
he
second.
won.
2018 he won, and 2020 he finished third. Oh my god. I'm
telling you right now, man, I'm not out to lunch here. I'm out
by
to
your
toast.
Theory, that means he's the champion because he's finished in all 4 positions.
Just let me finish, all right? For me, I do have Ross Chastain finishing 4th.
Okay.
I just wanted to leave it at that. I just wanted to leave it at that little preamble there because I did.
No, that's good.
So Ross Chastain does finish 4th for me. I think he could go out win the title, but when I look at the experience of 2 of them, and also just the 20 car speed this season on the flatter tracks, I just like that a little bit more than the 1 car. I know they finished 2nd in the spring, but I do think, I was not high on them in the playoffs. We talked about that.
You never drafted him.
My own fault, really. Like, he's proved me wrong, which is totally great. Like, I'm glad to be wrong about that. Like, he's done so much more than I ever thought he would have in the playoffs. And the story of itself is Trackhouse, like a second-year team making it to the championship 4 is freaking phenomenal. Like, that is unbelievable to even comprehend that that's even a possibility for, we've seen so many times how these new teams, like, they struggle. I know the new cars obviously come into a big factor with that.
Even the new teams with the new car have struggled.
Exactly. So kudos to that entire team. Chip Ganassi Racing, basically. Like, I've always liked that little chip. And I do think that the moment itself, I don't think it'll be too big for him, but I don't know if Trackhouse quite has enough to compete with Penske, Hendrick, and Joe Gibbs Racing at this stage. I think that they're close, but that may be a little bit too tall of a task for them to go out there and beat those other 3. So I have them finishing 4th.
Alrighty. Next up, I will put Joey Logano 3rd for myself. They've flown under the radar all season, but I feel like they're kind of like the extra one where they're not the leader in any categories. So I don't really see like a specific scenario where they're like the favorite and if the race plays out a certain way. Yeah. But at the same time, we've also seen from them at times this year where they've come out on the shorter ovals and had excellent results. I think of leading over half the race at Richmond, going out, winning Gateway, and winning Darlington in a bit of a controversial fashion, but he still was up there and competing obviously in second, even if he didn't put the bumper to Byron and stuff. So this is a team that's kind of been up and down in terms of their short oval speed over the course of the season. One result that I really like I mentioned, is the Richmond one, where in the spring they were decent, but unremarkable, had like 1 lap led, finished outside the top 10, stuff like that, and then go to Richmond the second time and lead over 200 laps. That bodes well for going to a place for a second time and stuff like that, and a somewhat comparable track type. But I think overall, not the leader in speed at this track type, not the leader in restarts and stuff. And so overall, I think that they're a team that doesn't finish last, but kind of finishes in that 2 to 3 range. It's kind of like the secondary kind of person in this championship race.
Yeah. We forgot to mention, who do we want to win the championship? Who do you want to win this one?
I kind of skipped it because I don't really have any strong feelings about any.
Okay. Well, okay. Perfect. Everybody knows who I want to win. So, I just wasn't sure if you had a particular opinion, but
not really. Yeah, not really. I'd be fine with any of them. So
okay, fair enough. 3rd for me, Chase Elliott. They are the luckiest sons of guns to be at this point, based off of their playoff performance. They've sucked.
I feel like it's not lucky. It's more really good regular season. But
okay, in terms of like, to put it this way, if they didn't have the DNQ by Hamlin at Pocono, they're out, right? Like, it comes down to that. They have been nowhere on speed really compared to the other guys here in the playoffs. Like Talladega, sure, but like that has nothing to do with anything else. The Roval, they should have won, but I look at those two as like anomaly. what's the right
Anomaly.
word?
There you go.
Anomaly. Jesus Christ. But I can't look at anything on the 1.5 mile stuff. I think their flat stuff's been mediocre, and I don't know if they quite have had the stretch here of any momentum. I think momentum is a little bit overkill at some point, like how much Rick Allen says it, but like I do think
a lot of what Rick Allen says is overkill. But
yeah, talks like he doesn't need to.
No, we're not doing it. We're not doing it.
That's a whole other episode. But I don't know if the 9 car quite has enough to compete with the other two that I have. I think that their speed has just been there. Only thing that I can put it to is that he's been there before at this track and won the championship, and it's also Hendrick Motorsports equipment. Like, I don't think that they're going to definitely not give him the best stuff. Like, he'll have everything he needs to. I just don't know if their equipment or if their entire stuff this whole year can compete with the other two that I've got. So Elliott finishes third for me.
Time for the show. Do you want me to take this? Or
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. Just take it.
Because I think we have the same guy. I have Christopher Bell winning the Cup Series championship.
Go ahead.
Okay. I think Christopher Bell and the 20 team have the perfect blend of a little bit of everything to go out and win this championship. They have a guy who's going for his first championship and has that hunger to go out and prove people wrong, whatever it may be, and go out and win that championship. They have the experience top the pit box in Adam Stevens, who's been there, done that in the championship races, and won't necessarily have that same pressure that other people may feel going out and trying to win a championship. That's something that he's familiar with. Joe Gibbs Racing is a team that, since it's gone to the Final Four format, the Championship Four format, they've never not had a representative in the final race. This is a team that knows how to prepare for these final races. And even though it's a driver in a unique situation going into this Cup Series championship race, he's never raced for a championship in the Cup Series before. Everybody around him has. So I'm not concerned about the lack of experience in that regard. They've been super fast on short ovals. They rank top 5 in median lap speed on short ovals. They've gone out, had 5 straight top 5 performances at short ovals. Should have won Richmond if there was one more lap, won New Hampshire, and obviously won Martinsville last time out. All season long, they have 2 non-top 10s on short ovals, looking at ovals less than a mile and a half. Phoenix race in the spring where he spun out and finished in the 20s.
That's when they couldn't get the cars off the ground with the flat tires, and he just skated around.
And the other one was Martinsville, where he finished 20th. Went out and rectified the Martinsville result. I think he rectifies the Phoenix result this weekend. Christopher Bell is my 2022 series champion for the Cup Series.
Oh, man. I wanted to happen so bad. I want it to happen so bad.
Is he not taking him?
It's just a matter of fact. I don't have him winning the title.
Wow.
Based off my math.
I thought you were going to take him.
Based off of my theory, which could be completely out to toast. I mean, like, it could literally be him finishing 4th by some margin. Because the 22 car, I feel like I've said the entire time this season, like, they're just like there, like, where do they come from? But their ability to fire off on restarts is probably, like, the Fords are just unbelievable at it. Like, they've got that down pat. Their long run stuff, it's not where it needs to be. That's always been an issue with Penske. It's always been an issue with Ford, I feel like. But this year especially, like, they've had a tough go of it. But I mean, no, I don't think anybody really sees the Ford as, like, the dominant manufacturer this year. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they've just been so like Blaney didn't get a win. Cindric's only win came in the Daytona 500. Harvick had 2 wins there back to back. And then, I mean, Buescher won at Bristol, but, like, you're not your usual suspects were up there dominating like they have been in the previous years. I think having that extra bit of prep time here will pay off. And Paul Wolf does like to go for a bit of an aggressive strategy at times. I love Adam Stevens. like that guy is probably a top 2 crew chief in the garage area, if I had to guess, because he's made almost every driver that he has been a crew chief for better. And I include Kyle Busch in that. He made
even
him
Matt
better.
Crafton and David Reagan.
Yes. And Eric Jones as well for one race.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How about that? So I don't think it's ever going to come down to necessarily the 20 car not being there. I think he'll be right there. Like it'll be really close, but I'm going to give the edge to the 22 based off of my stupid math that if you make it to the 5th time, you get that second title. He become the second multi-time champion too with Kyle Busch in the Cup Series. So Logano's been preparing for it, man. He seems like he's always been very confident in his team and his overall just entire playoffs. He's just kind of exuded that kind of just level of, you better watch out. Don't underestimate me. And I do think that that's going to be coming into consideration here. I think they'll unload fast. And the 22 car is my champion, Joey Logano. As much as I hate it, is going to be my pick for the Cup Series championship in 2022. 22 and 22.
Makes a lot of sense there. The 22 and 22. One final thing on Ross Chastain there, who I do have finishing second here on the thought that we see a late race restart. Look, we always see the championship 4 in the mix. We might see it a little bit differently, whether it's Kyle Larson getting up in the mix in the Owners' Championship or just the new car and different things like that. But they're always in the mix to a certain extent. And because of that, if we do get some kind of late restart, Ross Chastain will be somewhere in that like 3rd to like 6th range. And because of that, I like his chances on a late race restart because of the aggression, and the aggression this season has resulted in results on restarts. He leads the Cup Series by a significant margin in restart positions gained and retention rate. So if he has a front row start, he's going to retain it most likely. 75% he's done so. And if he's restarting further back and needs to gain places, he's had the aggression to do so, and he's had the results to do so. So that's why I've got him finishing second. He finished second at Phoenix earlier in the year after a late restart. I think we could see something like that play out again.
Great point. I like Chastain a lot. I just don't know.
No. I agree.
What to expect.
I agree. And it depends how it plays out. The only way I see him having a shot is if it's a late race restart.
This entire championship 4, it's full of surprises. I feel like I don't know what to think. I feel like the last couple of years, you've been able to dial in like Larson last year. This year has just been so unpredictable. Even though Chase Elliott has 5 wins.
What do you think of the Larson wild card? Do you think it mixes it up enough, or?
I think Larson will be up there, man. I really do. I think I could see him finishing 3rd in the race or something like that. I don't know if he'll necessarily win it. I mean, I've been kind of like on this like kind of trend where I don't know if the champion will win the race, but when I look at who's left here, I got to think that the champion wins the race. Like it just feels like it's so hard to do. I don't know. That's just me.
Yep. And one final quick note on Chastain and Trackhouse. They haven't won on a non-super speedway oval yet. So if they're going to do so, win the championship, they probably have to buck that trend this weekend.
Yeah, great point. Great point. So that'll do it for our picks this weekend for Phoenix. It's been a fun season. Cannot wait to see what the Duel in the Desert has in store for us this weekend. But any final thoughts, Kyle?
Nothing. Just really looking forward to this weekend. Some exciting racing coming up.
Same here.
And look, I don't love the format, but the format results in exciting moments, and that's what we're going to get this weekend.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it being on the ground there. We'll see what kind of stuff happens behind the scenes of a NASCAR race for media. I'm super pumped, but can't thank this platform enough for giving me that. So looking forward to talking about it afterwards, hopefully, and we'll see what all happens. But thank you all so much for your support. Sorry about not having a Martinsville episode, but we are back here for Phoenix and hope you enjoyed this one. Leave a like if you like this video. Leave a subscribe if you really liked it. And tell all your friends, as Steve Dangle would say. But for this episode, I've been Lukas Wacker. He's been Kyle Cushman, signing off for now. We will talk to you when we talk to you next. Enjoy championship weekend in Phoenix, everybody.